Okay, let's get this show on the road. My camera came on right away. Everything is going right so far. That makes me suspicious. But so here's my play in music. You are listening to KPCA LP, Petaluma, California, at 103.3 FM and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. And this is the Midnight Skeptic. The views of the Midnight Skeptic are not, repeat, not necessarily the views of KPCA or any of its affiliates. Okay, this is the Midnight Skeptic Show number 113 on YouTube. I was doing it for about 2.5 years down at the KPCA studios at Petaluma Community Access before my son convinced me to go on to YouTube. Anyway, here I am again, and this will be broadcast on KPCA FM, 103.3 FM locally around the southern Sonoma County area. And on YouTube, as soon as I get done doing this, I'm going to download it to YouTube. So you lucky thousands and thousands of listeners and watchers will be able to see me tonight. Okay. All right. It's so good to be woke. I've never done this straight through without an error ever since I started doing this. Let me start over. Oh, it's good to be woke. It's good to be woke. It's good to be woke in the morning. And I, the Midnight Skeptic, and the most woke person that I know. And I don't even know myself that well. Okay, my very modest goal with my small efforts here is to rid this country of all GOP MAGA-head Republicans and their fear and hate of minority groups, blacks, the LGBTQ community, liberals, feminists, and humanists. Okay, and send all hate mail and death threats, and please send some suggestions, constructive suggestions. And I've compiled a number of them over these many years, 6 years plus. And I try to make constructive changes. Not always successful, but I try. Okay. You're going to send hate mail and death threats and blah, blah, blah to the Midnight Skeptic at gmail.com. I'll get it and I'll deal with it appropriately. Okay, shout outs. Mickey Huff and his Project Censored double feature movies last Thursday at the Sebastiani Theater there in the town of Sonoma. I really enjoyed myself, and thanks Project Censored for inviting me and a whole bunch of other people. There were about, I would say 40 to 50 people all together. And a great snack layout, red wine. This was good stuff. And books for sale. I hope they sold a lot of them. Okay, and I enjoyed meeting Meg. And shout out also to Nolan Higdon and Andy Lee Roth, who are integral parts of the Project Censored gang. Okay, John Crowley at Aquas Cafe here in Petaluma, and Tom Gaffey at the Phoenix Theater here in Petaluma, kind of a hangout for alternative teens. Nariman, Art Kuznets, Kevin and Lori up in Kotati, Rich and Kathy Berger over in Sebastopol, Keith and Cody, Tom and Nancy, Dennis and Megan, down in the rich enclave of Tiburon. San Francisco, Yvonne Santos. I enjoyed dinner with you and Rick last week. Down in Pacifica, Stan and Kathy. And, I'm doing this without notes, so I'm having a brain freeze on the lefty friend of yours down there. Okay. San Francisco, I said Yvonne Santos, didn't I? Yes. Down in L.A., Aunt Jackie Kolar and her two daughters, Melanie and Samantha. Over to Arizona, my brother Bran and his wife Mina, and their daughter, my niece, Andrea, who's a nurse down there. Take care of yourself, Andrea. And her husband, Tim, and their three little kittalots over in Arkansas, Shannon Reed, down to Florida, Amelia and Nelson and Allison, up to the Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina area, Dr. Dave, the lung doctor extraordinaire, and up to Long Island, Geraldine Goldfinger. And now for the Sonora crowd, I hope you guys are not too snowed in. You guys have gotten a lot of it lately. I'm going to be calling you a little bit later tonight or maybe tomorrow. But I want to find out how you're doing up there with your couple of feet of snow on the ground. Okay, Robert and Colleen Finnegan, Bob and Sandy Fisher, and their daughter Martha, who is also a nurse. COVID is coming back. Wear your PPE. And Brad and Darrell Larson, Judy May, Leonidas Maciel, Lynn Quayle, Kathy Francis, John Gleason and his two daughters, Jennifer and Tiffany, and down in Mexico City, Rosamalia Lopez Negrete. Okay, all right. This is sort of an addendum to last week's show. Last week's show was a little bit different. It was more autobiographical about me, about my young childhood, being raised by my grandparents up until I was 7, and my mom remarried. And my grandparents, as I explained in last week's show, were a bit on the racist side, maybe even more than a little bit. Granddaddy was from Alabama and a lifelong Santa Fe Railroad guy, station agent in Stockton, he ended up being. Nana was from Texas, and my dad, my stepdad was a bit on the racist side as well. Okay, so I'm going to add in a few things that I skipped over in my notes last week. My dad voted for, ready for this, George Wallace of the AIP, American Independent Party, in the 1968 election. And if George Wallace hadn't have been shot, he probably would have voted for him in the 1972 election as well. And very much later in my life, after the Navy and college, and I came back to visit Dad, and I heard him use the word, I guess there was a small little store that he used to drive by and pick up a few things on his way home. I heard him use the word raghead for the proprietor. I assume he was either a sick or a Palestinian that ran the store. I don't know which, but anyway, I heard him use that word. And at the time, I was, let's just say, not very aware of things. I mean, I knew what it meant. I had heard the term, but it just, my uber liberal sentiments really hadn't kicked in yet. That came along, a decade later, maybe. Okay. All right. Enough of that. Okay. Good news to start the show. A Mexican chemical engineering company have been making bioplastics, straws, cutlery, spoons, bowls out of avocado pits. Okay. They completely biodegrade in 240 days in landfills. If you were to see the name of this company for Americans, we would probably say Biophase, but I heard it pronounced correctly online. Biophase, B-I-O capital F-A-S-E. They use 130 tons of avocado pits to make environmentally friendly things that take only 240 days. I already said that, didn't I? 240 days to biodegrade in landfills. The cutlery remains usable. I mean, if you buy it and don't use it right away and store it, it remains usable for up to a year if stored in a dry environment. The company's located in Michoacan, Mexico. Guacamole manufacturers of avocado oil and avocado oil producers are their sources of these pits. Scott Munguia, I'll spell it. Maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong. Scott, capital M-U-N-G-U-I-A. Rosamalia Lopez Negrete down in Mexico. You probably know how to pronounce his name correctly. Okay, he was a chemical engineering student in the year 2012, and he launched this company in 2017. I guess it can be still considered a startup, although they make a lot of things, and 80% of it is exported. All right. More good environmental news. Fungi Solutions, which is a company in Melbourne, Australia, spent years, quote unquote, training mushrooms to break down, are you ready for this? Cigarette butts from the used up tobacco and also the filters. And this is a quote from their CEO. Mushrooms have an incredibly adaptive digestive system, and they use a lot of different things for food sources. Who said that? Amanda Morgan. She's the CEO and head research scientist of Fungi Solutions. All right. Bad news from Arizona. Tom Horne, capital H-O-R-N-E. He's a Republican, of course. He's the superintendent of public instruction. He launched an Empower hotline. Actually, I hit the wrong button. Yes, it is kind of funny if you to step back and look at this. What I meant to hit was or. There we go. That's the right one. That's the Tom Horn sound effect. Okay, he launched an Empower hotline, quote unquote, that allows parents to report, quote, inappropriate lessons that detract from, okay, Mickey Huff just sent me a message on here. I'll read it later. To report inappropriate lessons that detract from teaching academic standards that focus on race or ethnicity rather than individuals and merit. Promoting gender ideology and social emotional learning, SET. That's something that no Republican wants to have taught to kids, social emotional learning, or sexual content. Now, what's sexual content to a Republican is almost anything. So, and this word merit, Republicans fetishize this. Okay, if you don't have merit, you don't deserve to eat or earn money or have anything. Just register as a Democrat. Okay, enough of that. That was Arizona Tom Horn, Horne, the so-called educational dude in Arizona. Okay, another topic. Geoengineering. Boy, is this a controversial topic. Yes, we need less sunshine striking the earth. And if we can't get the CO2 out of our atmosphere, we're going to have to find some way to reflect back a little more of the sunshine that hits our planet, or doom. Okay, and on my notes, I said geoengineering, good news or bad. Okay, this is from an article in Time magazine of February 21st of this year. Alejandro de la Garza wrote the article for Time, and the title of the article was Inside a Controversial Startup. Okay. The company in question is Make Sunsets. You know, capital M-A-K-E, capital S-U-N-S-E-T-S. The founder, Luke Eisenman and Andrew Song. What they're doing is stratospheric aerosol injection, or SAI. That's one of the ways that some scientists think might be a way to reflect back more sunlight. Okay, what these dudes do is they fill up these huge balloons with helium, so they'll go up. But in addition to that, they put a lot of sulfur dioxide in there, which is normally the stuff that gets spewed out of volcanoes and burning wood and all sorts of stuff. But down here on the surface, it doesn't do all that much good. We need it to be up there in the stratosphere and spread over the whole Earth for it to work, if it works. Okay. Sulfur dioxide, capital S, capital O2, SO2. Okay. The Mexican government kicked them out of the country for launching these balloons, and now they're doing it in the desert of Nevada. Oh boy, what could possibly go wrong? The way they make money, or plan to make money, is by selling environmental offsets to companies that really do pollute. I need to take a sip. Grape juice. All right, another topic. Geoengineering is quite a scientifically, controversial topic. How much should we do and how do we do it? Okay, enough of that. The origins of COVID-19. Okay, Florence DeBarre. Okay, I'll spell it. Florence, and then capital DeBarre. Okay, she's an evolutionary biologist in the French National Center for Scientific Research. And she was searching through a publicly available database. Okay, it's capital GISAID. I don't know what that stands for, but it's a website. Okay, that has genetic sequences of pathogens being studied that are downloaded. Okay, their DNA is being downloaded. Okay, Wuhan wet market. Is where all sorts of animals are sold. Originally, it was speculated that bats were the source of COVID-19. Well, she ran across DNA sequences of raccoon dogs, okay, which I guess are eaten by the Chinese people. I guess they're a delicacy. They kind of look more like raccoons than dogs, but that's what they're called. And then as soon as she found out, quite soon thereafter, it was all deleted. But she got it. And so the origins of COVID-19. Was it a lab leak or was it from the wet market? And my question is, and it's not been answered by any of my lefty correspondents, what real difference does it make? 7 million people worldwide have died due to the COVID-19 pandemic. More than 1 million have died in the U.S., 100,000 here in California. The question has never been adequately answered to me by anybody. The question that I posed, quote, if there were incontrovertible proof that it was a lab leak, well, then what? What do we do? Do we point fingers at them? You're guilty. Be more careful. We're very careful in our own viral study laboratories. I don't know. Could we be more careful? Of course, we can always be more careful. But at the outbreak of the COVID-19, the Trumpers jumped on the opportunity to point fingers at China as if they didn't hate China enough as it was. Do you remember him saying Kung flu? I guess that's an example of Trumpian wit. and it opened the door for the anti-vaxxers to come up with hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin to be the cures that the CDC is plotting to keep from the American people. All sorts of crap. And for some reason, the radical, stupid right-wingers seem to want to blame Anthony Fauci for all this and to lock him up. He became a trope in right-wing MAGA head circles. It's just anti-vaxxers are stupido. All right, there I said it. Okay. All right, enough of that. Oh, okay, one more quick tidbit. I have every faith that we will never know the actual truth of the origin of COVID-19. It might have been a lab leak. It might have come from the nearby wet food market. We'll never know. Okay. And even if we did, then what? Okay. Good news. I'm sure all my thousands and thousands of listeners are waiting for all this good news. Okay. Minnesota becomes the fourth state to provide free school meals to all kids. Governor Tim Walz, capital W-A-L-Z, he's a Democrat. On Friday, 3/17, that was 5 days ago, signed into law a bill for breakfast and lunch at no cost to all of Minnesota's roughly 820,000 K through 12 students. Can you just picture Republican MAGA heads running around? We can't do that. We can't afford it. They don't deserve free anything. Hate, hate, hate. All right. Enough of that. Okay, K through 12 students, regardless of their household income. If programs like this, like food programs, get bogged down in the minutia of figuring out their monthly or annual income or whether they qualify, that probably costs about a third of the budget to run a program like this. So just make it all kids, which Minnesota did. Good for them. Okay, I said they were the fourth state. Well, our state here, California, and Maine, and Colorado have already done that. Robert Reich, the UC Berkeley professor and former labor secretary, said, quote, "Let this serve as a reminder that poverty is a policy choice. In the richest country in the world, it is absolutely inexcusable that millions of our children go to school hungry because they are living in poverty." In Minnesota, slightly off topic, there is a Republican Party, of course, they're everywhere. The opposition party is the Democratic Farmer Labor Party. That is the DFL. Okay, they're affiliated with the National Democratic Party, as is the, what's the other state? Damn it. Maybe I should read my notes. Okay. Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party, that is really the Democratic opposition party to the Republicans. The Minnesota House originally passed the bill, which is HF 5, introduced on January 1st, 2023, that's this year, by House Democrats and into the Minnesota State Senate by State Senator Heather Gustafson. The GOP MAGA-head Republicans all voted against it. The DFL holds a single seat advantage in the Minnesota Senate. Okay. Republicans, okay, they will call themselves fiscally responsible. And they worry about paying down the national debt, balancing the budget. They would rather die than give poor people anything. So that's the Republican platform in a nutshell. In fact, what is being given to needier people, they want to take it away and balance the budget that way, which it won't. Okay? Okay, enough of that. North Dakota is the other state that has a Democratic... there's another name in there. Democratic something or other party. But anyway, there are two states that have a opposition political party that's affiliated with the National Democratic Party. Okay, all right. I labeled this one bad news. GOP MAGA-head Republican Representative Dusty Johnson, he's a Republican from South Dakota, and 14 MAGA co-sponsors introduced a bill in Congress to drastically expand work requirements for SNAP, S-N-A-P, which stands for Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. They were formerly known as food stamps. Okay, quote, "We know that work is the only path out of poverty," Johnson said. But most recipients are you ready for this? Already working. This is the first wave of GOP efforts to attack food assistance programs. If you can't afford food, work harder, work 3 jobs, or starve. That's the Republicans for you. Okay. 10 million people across the United States are in the SNAP program. 4 million of those are children. Republicans want children to go hungry if their parents don't work hard enough. That's my imitation of Republicans. Okay. New topic. Good potential news. California should emulate Minnesota's DFL party. Another sip of grape juice. The Democratic Farmer Labor Party from Minnesota. We should have a Democratic Party like that here. And, I wrote this down. And North Dakota's Democratic Nonpartisan League Party. They're DNL, which is also affiliated with the National Democratic Party. California's Democrats should reach out to Central Valley farmers, and for that matter, the Salinas Valley farmers, and anywhere else where we have farmers. We have a lot of farmers. California, aside from the Bay Area and aside from the LA area, we're essentially an agricultural state. Okay. We should reach out to farmers and city labor unions. I'm a good labor union guy. Teamsters and the UFCW, the United Food and Commercial Workers Union. I'm getting retirement checks from both those people. Okay, I'm off my notes. And city labor unions to put forth party platforms that would benefit both groups, labor and farmers and farm workers, and further rid California of GOP MAGA-head Republicans. The Republicans are pretty much defunct anyway on this state. They have no chance of electing any statewide officials. Time check, 36, onward. Okay, good news. The Five Guyers Institute. All right. Five, the number 5, GYRES, Five Guyers Institute. Now, what that refers to is the North Pacific and the South Pacific, the Indian Ocean, and the North Atlantic and the South Atlantic, that's 5, plastic garbage gyres that just circle around and hang out on the top of the ocean. Most of it is plastics. And this is what they do. They keep track of all this stuff. Okay, it was founded in 2009 by Anna Cummings and Marcus Erickson. And Marcus Erickson to research and report on plastic pollution. Well, they have their work cut out for them. They are headquartered in Santa Monica, California, and they're a 501c3 nonprofit. And if you want to check them out, or dare I say volunteer with them, or maybe even go to work for them, go to www.5, the numeral 5, GYRES.org. Toxic chemicals leached out from plastics in the ocean. That's another thing that they check on. They take ocean water samples and check out all the little microplastics that are floating around in there. And then they do chemical tests to see which, dare I say, cancer-producing chemicals are in the seawater. And they also make suggestions to improve plastic container design or other products to kind of promote the use of more eco-friendly plastic chemicals, so that these tank cars full of plastic protochemicals might not spill like in East Palestine. The fewer chemicals we need to use and the safer chemicals that we need to use are all good things. I'm off my notes again. Toxic chemicals leached out of plastics in the ocean. They work on improving plastic product designs and recovery systems and individual responsibility for waste. Try not to throw away your plastic containers. Better yet, use refillable plastic containers. Okay. Where am I? Am I speaking figuratively or literally? Okay. Ridiculous MAGA news. Texas. Of course. Representative Brian Slayton, capital Slaton, of District 2, is going to introduce a bill to protect children from, are you ready for this? Drag shows. Republicans are all about parental rights, which is a complete misnomer. They're all about protecting kids, even though they don't need protection. They just want to gin up hate and anger. That's what the GOP MAGA heads are all about nowadays. Okay, I'm off my notes again. Okay, drag shows. These shows, and this is his quote, sexualize children. I've been to a couple of drag shows in my lifetime. I'm from San Francisco. I went up to Finocchio's just to see what it was all about. Back in those days, they called them female impersonators. Some of them were quite talented. Most of them lip-synced the songs, but to be sexualized by that? Are you kidding me? All right. Only a MAGA head would be sexualized by a drag show. All right. I'm off my notes yet again. These shows sexualize children, Brian Slayton said, and showed... I got to get back on my notes. These shows sexualize children, which is wrong and wrong. He said, quote, a video of a drag show showed a disturbing trend where perverted adults are obsessed with sexualizing young children. He probably saw a video put online by GAG, G-A-G, Gays Against Grooming, which is a horrible website, and the woman who started that should suffer spontaneous combustion. And that website does put drag performances and in drag bars for adults. And they can be kind of, I don't know, gross in my opinion, but there are no children present. Okay, a Dallas bar called Mr., capital M-I-S-S-T-E-R, held an event called Drag the Kids to Pride drag show that went on Saturday. And this is from last year, so I think it was Saturday, June 14th. And it went from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Oh, I wrote it down here. June 4th, 2022. A.J. Crews, capital C-R-E-W-S, who's a bartender and manager there, said their normal hours were from 2 p.m. to 2 a.m. And he said, quote, everyone just came from all walks of life and, just enjoyed Pride. The organization Protect Texas Kids. You could go online and see what these creeps are about. PTK, Protect Texas Kids, staged a protest. Dallas police showed up to assist with crowd control, according to them. Texas GOP legislators won't even consider protecting kids from assault rifles, other guns, and mass school shootings. No, kids need to be protected from drag shows, not the NRA. The NRA is our friends, especially Wayne LaPierre. John Doyle, capital Doyle, a new face in white nationalist circles, was there with his APU, another startup organization. APU stands for American Populist Union. And he was out there. This was all filmed on phones. With his bullhorn and microphone. He looks to me to be, I don't know, early 30s. He bought a toy, his bullhorn, and he was harassing the people that were going into this Mr. Bar. And, there was words back and forth. If the people going in there to see the drag show would have just ignored those jerks, he was being followed around by, 10 or so of his followers. That's what he wants. Any right-wing creep with a bullhorn can attract some mindless MAGA head followers. And they were chanting groomers at the attendees. APU, American Populist Union, is a MAGA anti-LGBT group, as is the group Protect Texas Kids. Okay, and I expanded on PTK a little bit. Listed it under bad news. PTK, Protect Texas Kids, is a 501c4 nonprofit organization to protect kids. And this is a quote from their website, protect kids from, quote, real attack on our children's traditional development, whatever that means. Schools are teaching them that gender is fluid, which they don't, at ages that they are most vulnerable. You don't know what ages they are most vulnerable, or even what vulnerable means in this context. Indoctrinating them with CRT, anti-American sentiments, and so on and on and on. All the right-wing tropes are listed on their website, PTK. Okay, now this is the bad one from their website. Quote, child mutilization crisis driven by money. Which they don't. I mean, they meaning people who are concerned with gender dysphoria. We protect our children from the lasting damage inflicted by the radical left. A hotline for parents to report these ideologies being taught in your kid's school. Okay, they listed a phone number and a website where parents could report these ideologies. I'm not going to list it. Okay, just like Florida's Parental Rights in Education Act, HB 1557, is that the introduced bill by Brian Slayton? I think so. Oh no, I'm off of the Texas thing. I'm back in Florida. Okay, just like Florida's Parental Rights in Education Act, HB 1557 went into effect July 1st of last year. So it's 8 months old now, I guess. Okay, instruction, quote unquote, and discussion, quote unquote, of sexual orientation is mentioned in the bill twice, and gender identity also mentioned twice. Okay, you know, way back in my life, I went through a teacher preparation program in San Francisco, Lone Mountain College, and I never went into teaching beyond my student teaching assignment. But after moving up here to Petaluma, and my wife started tutoring neighborhood kids with their reading and arithmetic, and after I got involved helping her, I have some expertise in child development. All right. In fact, I still have 3 students that I tutor now. They go to Casa Grande High School, SIP. What was I? Okay. Oh, yeah. How children learn. They learn more from their peers and nowadays online than teachers can ever teach or parents can ever parent them. Learning is not a thing that takes place only in a classroom. It just doesn't. You do your best as a parent. You do your best as a teacher, but you've got to know that they learn way more outside the classroom with their peers than they will ever learn from you as a parent or teacher. Children learn more from adults' attitudes, adults' body language, adults' word choices, how they describe things, than actual curriculum or lesson plans or, quote unquote, instruction or teaching. The word gay is just a, oh God, my handwriting. Oh, the word gay is just a distraction. Okay, I've got to kind of hurry up here if I'm going to finish this. The bills, the Florida bills, preamble, it says the aim is to prohibit classroom discussion about sexual orientation or gender identity. But later, the actual bill states that, quote unquote, classroom instruction by school personnel or third parties on sexual orientation or gender identity may not occur. Well, the kids will learn it anyway, whether from these alleged third parties or from teachers or from any school personnel. So what is instruction? How is a teacher's to answer a student's question about same-sex couple marry each other? How do they do it? Is the teacher teaching about what the Constitution says or what Supreme Court decisions have been, or teaching about sexual orientation. Banned, it's been quote unquote improved in Florida. It originally was from K through third grade, or that is not age appropriate. MAGA heads don't know from age appropriate. They're just ignorant. Okay, what is age appropriate? In Florida, the act has now been expanded from pre-K through 8th grade, which is the latest House Bill 1223. Sex, quote unquote, means, this is right in the bill, the binary division of individuals based on reproductive function. Okay, I'm going to have to finish this up on the next show because I am running out of time. Here's my play out music. You have been listening to The Midnight Skeptic on KPCA LP, Petaluma, California. And we're at 103.3 on the FM dial and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. Support community radio at patreon.com/Petaluma Community Access. And remember, think critically, think logically, but live joyously, and most importantly, pet your cats. I've got about 3 paragraphs that was left for this show. I'll catch you up on the next show, which will be April 2nd, Sunday. I'll record it, I don't know, sometime around Wednesday or Thursday of next week. So remember, just pet your cats. It's worked for me. I have no stress in my system, which some people might dispute, but really, I've excised anger from my life. Thank you, Dalai Lama. And excised stress from my life. Thank you, Sasha, my cat, and a bottle of red wine. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I will see you in a week. Oh, I forget to hit